Hello, everyone. My name is Olivia. I'm one of the assistant directors in the Office of Admission here at College of the Holy Cross. I'm really just going to be here to help facilitate the session, but I'm really excited for all of you to get to know some of our students who have experienced the 3-2 engineering program at Holy Cross through Columbia University as well. So we're going to go ahead and just get started. I would love for each of the three of you to please introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about yourselves, and then we're going to go ahead and start with just a basic overview of what the 3-2 engineering program looks like at Holy Cross. So Emmanuel, why don't you start us off with introducing yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Emmanuel Daka. I was born and raised in Worcester. I went to school at Holy Cross, where I majored as a physics major. I decided to pursue the 3-2 program, and right now I'm pursuing a computer science major at Columbia University.
Awesome. And then Brett, would you like to go next?
Sure, I can go next. Hi, everyone. I'm Brett George. I'm a junior currently at Holy Cross, and I'm from Methuen, Massachusetts. I'm also a physics major, and I'm currently awaiting my decision for the 3-2 program, hopefully to pursue electrical engineering.
Awesome. And then Patricia?
Hi, guys. My name I attended Holy Cross and studied physics there, and now I'm pursuing a computer science major here at Columbia.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. I want to remind everyone really quick as well, this is a question and answer session in addition to information. So we're going to give you all an overview, but this is also a great opportunity for you all to ask questions of all of our students to talk about what the 3-2 engineering program looks like. So please put your questions in the Q&A section in the chat. It'll be really helpful for us to have some questions to be able to ask our students tonight. And then also just a note as well, we are doing closed captioning here for the recording. So please let me know if you need closed captioning. And then we're also going to be posting this on our website when we're done recording the session as well. So all of this will be recorded for your future use also. So, all right, we'll go ahead and get started. Emmanuel, why don't you just kind of give us an overview of what the 3-2 engineering program looks like at Holy Cross and how the transition works from going to Holy Cross to Columbia University after you finish. And then we'll go ahead and take some question and answers after we're done with that.
Right. So to start off, the 3-2 program is basically a very intense program where basically you need to make sure you get a certain amount of courses in before you transfer into Columbia. So usually what ends up happening is you either major in physics, math, or computer science, and you need to take a set of core classes required by Columbia, courses required by Holy Cross, and Holy Cross's Common Core requirements as well. So at Holy Cross, at least for myself, I was a physics major, and this covered a lot of the requirements that were necessary for me to get all of my requirements done, basically. So what ended up happening was, as a physics major, I got about half of them done. And on top of the physics major, Columbia also has a couple of requirements, such as taking some econ courses, making sure you take an English course, things like that. And as well, if you want to choose different majors, there are some courses that Columbia would like you to pursue before taking them. For example, I know Columbia has chemical engineering as one of the majors you can choose at Columbia. And in order to do that, you have to take 2 semesters worth of chemistry instead of 1 semester's worth of chemistry, just to make sure you have the correct amount of foundation before you go into Columbia and take some of the more advanced courses that they're going to be sending you in to do. So what ends up happening is at the beginning of your 3rd year, you have basically taken all of these courses that are required of you by Columbia, Holy Cross, and the 3-2 program just as a whole. And what you end up doing in your last semester, just like Brett is doing right now, is you end up sending an application to Columbia. And it's basically just writing down, making sure you got all the correct courses, making sure you have all of the correct requirements and letters of recommendation, and then Columbia will come back and send you a decision. Usually, I think at about April was when Patricia and I also got our responses as well. So by then, Columbia also has a couple of majors that you can choose from, ranging from a lot of engineering. So for example, you could do mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, electrical engineering, computer science, computer engineering. They all have them in their, Columbia has them all on its website as well. And from there, you basically come to Columbia and you will be, you have your own orientation, just like a lot of incoming students do. And Columbia will also help you get oriented as well. It's a brief, kind of a brief, or maybe a little long of an overview, but that's at least the experience of what you will be doing for 3-2. I'm sure Professor Narita might have a little more of a better description than I would, though.
Yeah, thanks so much for starting us off, Emmanuel. I really appreciate that kind of explanation of what your experience has been like as part of the 3-2 engineering program. And thank you so much for Professor Narita joining us as well in this webinar. Would love to kind of turn it over to you to talk a little bit about your experience as one of the people helping to manage the 3-2 engineering program, and just explain a little bit about what you want our prospective students to know about this program.
Sure. Could I share my screen? Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me make sure. Do you have the permission for it already, or do I need to give it to you?
I don't have the permission.
I'll go ahead and make you a co-host here.
Okay. All right, great. Okay. All right, so just put this in presentation mode here. Okay. Yes. So I apologize for being late here. I just wanted to just give everyone a brief overview and requirements for the 3-2 program. And so, as you probably heard, the application to Columbia University takes place in your 3rd year. For many years, the admission was guaranteed, but this changed 2 years ago. And so now the requirements are that there is seemingly a bar, which is the overall GPA, and pre-engineering GPA must be 3.3 or better. And you must get a B or better in all your required pre-engineering courses. And these pre-engineering courses make up 3 semesters of calculus, 2 semesters of physics, 1 semester of chemistry, and computer science. Now, I have to let you know that we have not had the guarantee was taken away a few years ago, and so we have students who are still working through the program and have not applied through in this new process. So the guidelines I'm telling you here are really the minimum requirements that have been in place for a number of years, which I'm assuming that Columbia will still look at. They claim that the admission process will now be more holistic, looking at the overall picture. However, I have to warn you that they have been very strict about keeping these sets of requirements. That means that no one from Holy Cross has ever gotten admitted to Columbia if they did not meet any one of these requirements. So my message to all the students who are working through this is that you should try to clear the bar as best you can. Now, certain engineering majors will also require additional courses in math, physics, computer science, chemistry. And so these are courses, these engineering majors are, for example, chemical engineering will require additional chemistry. Applied mathematics will require additional math class, or computer engineering will require additional computer science course. So these, I think, make sense to you. One thing you may not be aware of is that you must complete all your common area requirements before you leave. So some of you have probably had a chance to read about the common area requirements. These are essentially our breadth requirements in humanities that all students must complete before they graduate. And Columbia stipulates that you finish these breadth requirements before you transfer. Now, there are such situations where students may either start late or they don't quite get to finish all the requirements in 4 years. And sometimes students also choose not to leave after 3 years because they are playing sports or they're doing clubs and other activities that that require them to stay for 4 years, so they just don't want to leave after 4 years. And I just want to let you know that for students who are thinking about something like that, there is the 4-2 option, which is identical to the 3-2 option, except that you stay for 4 years and then you tack on additional 2 years afterwards. So these are the engineering majors at Columbia. They're quite varied. I have to say that the most popular ones are mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, computer engineering, and some either applied math or applied physics. We have had few students going to civil, few students going to biomedical, and more recently, some students are going into operations research. Those three requirements, the biomedical, operation research in particular, require lots of extra courses on top of the minimum courses that Columbia requires. So they will require careful management of your classes while you're at Holy Cross, and also counting your AP classes, AP credits that you bring in from high school. But I don't want you to think too far ahead into the future, because you are just coming in, and so what I tell all the students are that they should really just focus on the first year, and you've got to get through the first year before you can think about the other years. And so for first year, I really recommend that you start your calculus sequence. So some students will start in Calculus 1. You've never taken calculus in high school. If you've already taken calculus in high school, then start at Calculus 2 or Calculus 3. I also recommend that you start physics in your first year, because physics is a one-year sequence which can only be started in the fall. You probably heard of Montserrat. Montserrat is a required course sequence for all freshmen. And then you have other choices. Common area, your fourth class can be a common area requirement. Or I also recommend English at some point in the first year, because some of the English classes are only open to first and sometimes second year students. So, but this is really a very typical schedule for any student who's thinking about physical science. This is really nothing. This is definitely not an overload by any means. This is a lot of students do take these 4 to 8 classes each semester and throughout the year, and all it does is just sets you up for your second year. And the second year, I won't put that down because I don't want to stress you out too much, but second year is when you really have to start thinking about whether you really want to do the program or not. And then last thing I want to say is tuition financial aid. So tuition is set by Holy Cross for the time that you're Holy Cross, and tuition is set by Columbia for the last 2 years. That you pay the different universities separately. And I also want to say that each institution sets its own financial aid package. So it's not, you cannot carry any financial aid package from Holy Cross over to Columbia. Okay, and that's all. That's it for my short presentation. Thank you. So yes, so I'd be happy to take any questions, and I know the students have been taking questions for you. So
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of go through the Q&A bar here, and we'll see what questions we have. We already have a few already. So the first one is a student asking, do you need to be accepted into this program or into Columbia in order to pursue engineering? So if you all can talk about kind of the relationship that we have with Columbia University with engineering, and what that would look like for a student going to Holy Cross to want to be interested in engineering, and what are the options there for that student?
Okay, before I'll turn this over to one of the students, but let me just first add that you do not apply to be in this program at Holy Cross. You just have to decide to come, and then all you have to do is essentially talk to the 3-2 engineering advisor, which happens to be me at this moment. So all the students in front of you, Patty, Emmanuel, and Brett, all came to me freshman year saying that they were interested. And all I said to them was that, why don't you take these classes and see how it goes, how you like it. And over the course of 3 years, they completed the program. And so there's no requirement there's no required entry into the program. You just have to just take the courses. Now, let me just, for Columbia, that's, I know you guys were just talking about the application process that takes place in your junior year, and that's really kind of out of my hands at that point. I've kind of guided you through the first 3 years. And at that point, it's been pretty clear. Holy Cross students have been really pretty successful in making it through the program. So typically by the end of their sophomore year, most students who are in this program know that they are likely to likely to be accepted at Columbia, because their grades are so high and their courses are all finished or likely to be finished in 1 year's time. Any of you guys want to add on to your experience of?
I can hop in. So regarding the question about whether you need to be accepted into the program into Columbia to pursue engineering, technically, yes, in order to get an engineering degree, you do have to get accepted to Columbia, because at Holy Cross, you're doing either a physics, computer, or a math major. So it's more general, it's not strictly engineering. But I think what I would like to mention is the fact that Holy Cross does prepare you really well to go to Columbia. And I think, if I'm honest, I think if I came to Columbia right away, it would be a lot more challenging. So I think Holy Cross is definitely a great preparation before you go to Columbia and you start your journey with actual engineering, whichever major it's going to be. And I just wanted to say that while like it's not really necessary, I mean, you don't really have to be firm in your decision, you know, coming into freshman year being like, yes, I want to do Columbia Engineering. You can always stay at Holy Cross, so it's not a big deal. But it is important to have it at the back of your head and keep track of their requirements, because if you wake up too late, you might not be able to finish all your requirements to get accepted to Columbia. So I think that's also important. So make sure that you talk, you know, with advisors, and there's also a list on Columbia University website that also gives you all the requirements that you can take a look at and track yourself also. So yeah.
That's actually a great lead in into the next question that we have here as well, Patricia, which is, were you planning to do the 3-2 program when you entered Holy Cross? And I'd love for each of you, if you have a different story, you know, to talk about kind of what your experience was, whether you knew ahead of time that you were coming to Holy Cross specifically for the 3-2 program, or were you, was it something that you found once you had arrived at Holy Cross? I'd love for each of the students to kind of talk about your experience with that.
So I guess I can start. For me, it was really, I was interested in the program when I first came here, but it wasn't really exactly like my only path at the time, because I still hadn't really known which major I would couple with it. But as I started, I took my physics classes as in that first year semester was suggested, and I ended up really liking physics, so I ended up continuing down that path. And towards the end of freshman year, I kind of got more and more used to figuring out the program and understanding where I wanted to go with it. So, no, I wasn't originally thinking I was going to do it.
Yeah, I think for me, I was a little kind of like opposite, I guess. I came into Holy Cross like knowing that I wanted to do 3-2. I think I actually met with Professor Narita the summer before I had enrolled in my first semester as well. So I was really kind of like laser focused on it. But yeah, for me, I really wanted to do it. And, you know, I was lucky enough to be able to get through all the courses and be accepted as well.
Yeah, so for me, I think I was the same as Emmanuel. I definitely wanted to do 3-2. And, you know, I already started talking to advisors and stuff like that. I remember that I even had a different set of classes from my first semester, and then I talked to my advisor and we changed it so that it would be suitable for Columbia Engineering and to be able to fulfill all the requirements. So I would say you don't really, as I said before, you don't really have to be like super firm in your decision. You don't really have to be like laser focused on it. But if you are, for example, like a physics major, you definitely have some room if you're starting physics the first semester, then you will have time to complete those requirements, even if you're like not sure yet if you want to do it or not. But with other majors, it might be challenging. So for example, if somebody wants to do like chemistry, or I don't know if it's even possible with like biology or stuff, but some majors do require from you to like do more and be more focused on how you organize your schedule.
Awesome, thank you all. I think that's really helpful. This next question that we're gonna answer, I think Professor Narita, you may have the best perspective on this. Can you come into the engineering program with a major other than physics or math or computer science, like we've talked about? For instance, a major like biology or chemistry.
Sure. So the people choose physics, mathematics, and computer science because a lot of those classes happen to overlap with the pre-engineering requirements. And so you can think of it as, 2 for 1, counting for your major and counting for Columbia by taking one single class. It's not so, that's not so true for biology or chemistry. Even when you think about chemical engineering, for example, it turns out that actually you need a lot more physics and mathematics than typical chemistry major would take. And same with biomedical engineering. I had a biomedical engineering student who thought that she needed to major in biology here, but it turns out that biology requirements took her away from engineering actually, and so she decided to switch into mathematics so she could do biomedical engineering. And so while it is technically it is possible, it is extremely challenging to major in, for example, biology or chemistry, and of course even more so if you wanted to major in, let's say, English. It'd be extremely challenging to fit in all your science courses. Now, of course, every student is different. Every student comes with different set of classes that they took in high school. Some students have the opportunity to take summer school to make up for some extra classes. So I don't want to rule out any majors, but I'm just, historically, I can say that the majority of students that have gone to Columbia have been primarily in mathematics and physics and a little bit in computer science.
This actually leads me into another question. Thank you, Professor Narita, for that. Is it common for students ever to take 5 or 6 classes in a semester as a freshman or as a sophomore or at any point during their time at Holy Cross? And this is something I think, Professor Narita, you can speak to as well as our students here as well.
Yes, no, we do not recommend that anyone take 6 classes at any time. It is possible to take 5 classes with permission. But even taking 5 classes can be quite a heavy workload. So let me turn that over to one of you guys. Did you have 1 or 2 semesters where you took 5 classes?
Yeah, so definitely when it comes to 6 classes, that's a complete overkill. Do not do that to yourself. I don't think they're gonna even allow you to do that. 5 classes, it did happen to me 2 semesters. I did have to take 5 classes. Sometimes it has to do with the fact that courses are offered certain semesters, and sometimes you have to take them for the completion of either your major at Holy Cross before you leave, or something else. Majority of the time though, you do take 4 classes and it is enough, and you are already taking pretty hard courses, so it's a decent amount of workload with 4 classes. So if you can avoid that, I know that there's a lot of courses that do overlap even outside of engineering. For example, the requirements for Columbia, they're outside of your major, like econ, for example, or an English class or something like that. It does cover like the requirements for Holy Cross overlap with the requirements that you need to complete for Columbia as well, if you're smart about picking your classes. So you do not need to take that many classes to be able to do it.
Let me also jump in that I had one student, it's kind of a sad story, several years ago, where a student felt that he needed to take 6 classes. And in doing so, his grades dropped. And as a result, he was disqualified from going to Columbia. And so that's kind of a warning that you have to be very, very careful about number of classes you take.
Also, I think at Columbia, the standard number of classes is 5. So, you know, enjoy your life before you come to Columbia, and you actually have to take 5 classes at Columbia then. So, yeah.
Awesome. Actually, thank you again, Patricia, for kind of leading me into another question that has been asked, which is, once you are taking classes at Columbia, how many courses are you typically taking a semester? It sounds like 5. Is there some variation there? What types of courses are you taking? What types of labs are associated with those courses? And generally, what does that look like when you're at Columbia and taking those classes after you've left Holy Cross?
Yeah, I guess I could answer this one. It really depends on your major. I'm actually on campus right now at Columbia, and I have a roommate who is doing electrical engineering. And he's actually taking 4 classes and a lab, which is related to one of his classes. Whereas I'm a computer science major, and we don't do as many, we don't do labs, I guess, just in general. So I need to take 5 classes. So it really does depend from major to major. And I think as well, Columbia has a requirement where in your 2 years here, you have to do 60 points worth of classes, which is different from Holy Cross's point system, but 60 points worth of classes is what you're going to need to fulfill basically, which includes your major requirements and everything while you're at Columbia. So while it does change, go from major to major, I think usually it's about 5 classes. And if you're taking 4, then the 5th component would be a lab instead.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that information. We have a couple of questions in the Q&A as well about kind of how graduation works and how diplomas work. So, some questions about, do you graduate with your class at Holy Cross, or do you graduate a year early? Do you leave for Columbia and come back for graduation? Do you receive a diploma from both colleges? Professor Narita, can you talk a little bit about kind of the diploma awarding? And then the students, can you talk about the experience that you have had of figuring out, are you going to where you want to graduate, and kind of how you find your school allegiance between Holy Cross and Columbia? I think that would be helpful.
Sure, I'll start. So Holy Cross, after spending 3 years at Holy Cross, you officially cannot graduate because you have not completed enough classes. And so Holy Cross will hold on to your diploma until you finish all your courses at Columbia. So at the end of your 5th year, Holy Cross will award you your diploma and let you walk in come to commencement. You cannot come. You are not allowed to graduate after 4 years with your classmates. So that is one possible downside for students who are in this program. And my understanding is that at completion of your 5th year, 2 years at Columbia, that you get both degrees, essentially one degree from Columbia and of course a degree from Holy Cross.
Awesome. Emmanuel, I feel like you're probably the closest to this kind of situation since you're already taking classes at Columbia. So, have you kept in touch much with your Holy Cross peers now that you're not on campus with them? Or, do you feel like you're very much a Columbia student now rather than a Holy Cross student?
Right. I think with the pandemic, the lines have been a little blurred as well. But I don't think that I've been very disconnected from my friends at Holy Cross. I mean, I still definitely communicate with all of them. I still, we all keep in touch. If you're friends with them for 3 years, just because you're gone for, a year or 2 while they're graduating, that doesn't mean that, you just stop becoming friends and everything. So, whereas on the other side, at Columbia, I have made some friends, but again, it's difficult with the pandemic, especially with the virtual setting and everything. I'm sure that it would be a much different experience if I was here, under normal circumstances.
Sure, yeah, I can completely imagine how the pandemic has changed the relationships that we all have with each other and how we keep in touch with our friends, regardless of where you are. A couple of other kind of logistical questions that I think Professor Narita, you'll be able to help answer for these students. One student has a number of questions about kind of how the process of degree granting and graduation works, what degree is it that you're earning from Holy Cross when you do receive that degree after your 5 years? Would a Holy Cross student be considered a transfer student at Columbia? Kind of how does that function? And then, do any classes that you take during your 2 years at Columbia count towards any kind of advanced degree or graduate program there as well? So there's a lot of questions built into that, but anything that you can help with would be, I think, helpful.
Sure, I can answer definitely the part about the Holy Cross degree. Holy Cross degree in whatever major you are, so whether you're physics major or math major or whatever it is, you will get a Bachelor of Arts in that major. Holy Cross only gives out Bachelor of Arts. At Columbia, I think you get the Bachelor of Engineering through the Columbia's School of Engineering. The courses that you take while at Columbia, while they transfer to Holy Cross they transfer as an undergraduate course, so they will count towards your graduation degree at that point. I don't really know anything about whether Columbia courses can count towards graduate programs at Columbia. My understanding is no, because Holy Cross certainly does not offer a graduate degree in any program. We are strictly an undergraduate only college. Emmanuel or Patty, have you heard any students trying to do a master's program at Columbia?
Yeah, so I think there is an option, although it is really hard because you do have to fulfill all the requirements. And as Emmanuel said before, you do have to complete 60 credits while you're being at Columbia towards your undergraduate degree, right? But it is possible to take more classes. Some people do take 6 classes and they can kind of continue on. I don't think you can complete both bachelor's and master's while you're here during 2 years, but I know that there are options for students in multiple majors where they take more classes and then they do kind of like an express master's, meaning they kind of shorten the amount of time that master's usually takes at Columbia because they're able to take classes before they actually start master's degree. So I know that it is possible. I think one of our friends that is about to graduate as an undergraduate was doing it and was taking 6 classes. So he does have more credits, which allows him to pursue the master's degree for a shorter time and get the degree earlier. But yeah, and I think it's also, if people are thinking of doing master's degrees, I do think it might be a little easier to get into master's degree program from Columbia to Columbia, right? Than from outside. So you already know the professors, you already know the system, how it works, what courses you might potentially take. I also think that there is also a bigger availability of courses in general, which is definitely a plus for Columbia. So yeah, I think it's definitely possible, but it is really challenging to do that.
Yeah, actually, just to add on top of that, yeah, the program is called MS Express, like Patty said, and I think they allow you to take up to 2 classes against the against the master's degree. So usually, I think the master's degree is a sequence of, I believe, 10 classes, and you can take 2 credits because Columbia does it on a credit basis, basically the master's program. So you can take up to 2 credits towards the master's program and complete the master's program in 2 semesters instead of 3, which is what they normally do.
Let me also add that only a small number of Holy Cross students actually go to Columbia, right? Although a lot of students end up in engineering after Holy Cross, right? So we have Emmanuel, Patricia, and Brett, who are outstanding students, and they worked extremely hard. But but there are a lot of students just like them at Holy Cross who do not choose 3-2, and they still go into engineering. I think a lot of you probably know a lot of friends who are doing something like that. So I just want to make it clear to everyone that's listening that if engineering is something that you're interested in doing, 3-2 is just one of many options that you can follow to follow that path. It is definitely not the only option. And I can say a lot of students do go through Holy Cross for all 4 years to do the standard Holy Cross. They have the standard Holy Cross experience, Holy Cross education, and then go on to graduate programs in lots of terrific schools all around the country and finish their engineering degree. And so I just want to make it clear that we don't want for example, the term tail wagging the dog, right? I really want you to come to Holy Cross, not necessarily because 3-2 is your only goal, but because Holy Cross is what's good for you, right? The liberal arts experience is what's drawing you in, and the 3-2 engineering program is essentially the icing on the cake, for your education.
Yeah, I think maybe I'll just add like a little note. Sorry. I just wanted to say that I do have a couple of friends that just continued, Holy Cross, and they are getting into good schools and stuff. So Holy Cross is definitely, a good school and a good place to be. So yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Betty.
Yeah, and if I could actually add one.
Wanted to get to. I'm actually asking a follow-up question here, so don't worry. You can keep talking about it. I actually wanted to just talk a little bit about what the difference is between doing the 3-2 engineering program versus doing your full bachelor's degree at Holy Cross and then going on to a master's program elsewhere. Because we do have a question in the chat specifically about that. So you've all kind of led straight into this question. So I'd love for Emmanuel, if you have something you want to add to that as well, or Professor Narita, or any of the other students, if you'd like to add anything additional about what the difference is between going through the 3-2 program versus just pursuing a bachelor's degree and then continuing to grad school after Holy Cross.
Yeah, I think this kind of is what I was also going to bring up as well. I think Holy Cross actually did help me. I mean, Patricia actually said this earlier as well, but I think Holy Cross really did help me kind of like hone my skills and provide a great foundation, to be honest, in terms of the classes that I took and just preparing me to make sure I actually understood everything and made sure I had the attention, I guess, that I needed as a student to be able to excel and really understand the material that I needed to know, for example, before going to Columbia. I would say the major difference, at least in my perspective, between doing the 3-2 program versus just going outright to do engineering is just that. It's the foundation. It's that Holy Cross gives you a foundation to be able to succeed later when you do end up going to an engineering school, because I do know that in an engineering school, usually they tend to have, big classes, hard exams, and everything like that. And it can be a little, I would say, overwhelming, I guess, in the beginning. And I think at Holy Cross, it's really, it's a community that kind of fosters like growth, basically. And I think I, just like Patty said as well, I wouldn't be as successful, I guess, at Columbia if I hadn't gone to Holy Cross before.
I would like to add on that too.
Yeah, go ahead, Brett.
I would say that going to Holy Cross and having that liberal arts education really exposes you to a lot of different classes and a lot of different perspectives outside of your major. And I think that's something that was very important to me when I was choosing Holy Cross as my school. So I think that having both this degree and then moving on to Columbia kind of really gives you a unique experience, a college undergrad experience.
Yeah, also I'm going to add that Brett, Patty, and Emmanuel all took part in some summer research while they were students here, which I think as early on as right, I think as sophomores, you guys were able to partake in research, which I think might be very difficult to do at a large university where they have graduate students and seniors and taking those slots.
I think definitely a big advantage is the fact that you do get more help. And you get more attention from your professor, at Holy Cross. So it definitely like reinforces your learning, and if you're lost, you always have somewhere to go. You always have friends, that can also help you out. We definitely collaborated a lot, and like thought about the problems together. So that's definitely a big plus, which you don't get to have at Columbia because you do go into big classes and the interaction with the professor is very limited. You go to the TAs more, and there's pros and cons for both, but definitely if you think like you do need a little more help in the beginning, for example, or something like that, I would definitely recommend coming to Holy Cross first and seeing and trying to kind of learn how to learn too, because college is a little bit of a different experience than high school for sure. So I think it's been great.
Yeah, we had a student a couple years ago who was thinking about 3-2. And his grades were very good. He finished all his courses and he was on track to finish, but then he decided that he really wanted to do a study abroad his junior year, which meant that he could not apply to go to Columbia. So he stayed all 4 years. At the end of the 4 years, his grades were still excellent. So he had an option to go to Columbia through the 4-2 program. But being a senior, he had also had the option to go to any graduate program around the country. And so he was accepted to not only Columbia, but a number of other really top engineering schools around the country. And the funny part is that he turned them all down and decided to go into Peace Corps afterwards. So I think, so once again, I was really proud of him. He really took his Holy Cross experience and he wanted to turn it around and pay some of it back. And so we still keep in touch. And so anyway, I just want to let you know that, all your options are wide open.
That's awesome. Thank you all so much for your experiences and opinions on that. I have a question for the students. Is it difficult to get into the classes that you need to fulfill the requirements at Holy Cross in order to do this program? How have you experienced getting into your classes during your time at Holy Cross?
So at Holy Cross in general, there's no problem to get into the classes. And if you have a problem, you go to Professor Narita and he gets you into the class that you need. That's what usually happens. Yeah, so no, there's not that. Getting into classes is not hard at all at Holy Cross. If you do need the class, and especially if you're in the program and you decided that you want to be on the program and do it, there's going to be a way to get you into the class that you need in order to go. So I haven't had any trouble getting into classes at Holy Cross at all. I think it's definitely harder to get into classes at Columbia because now, even last semester, I was trying to get into, for example, 4 computer science classes, and I got a chance to only get into 2, which basically puts off the more like stress for later, and putting a lot of stuff for senior year. So I think it's definitely easier to get into classes at Holy Cross than there is at Columbia. That's not to say that you're not going to get into the classes. You're going to definitely get into the classes and graduate, but it might be a little reorganized for you at Columbia for sure.
Awesome. Actually, speaking of classes at Columbia, a couple of students were asking about, some of you alluded to kind of larger class sizes that you might find at Columbia versus at Holy Cross. How big is big when you're talking about class sizes there? And, what are the class sizes for a lecture versus lab and things like that in your experiences? I suppose I'm leaning on Patty and Emmanuel here to talk about your experiences at Holy Cross versus Columbia.
Go ahead, Emmanuel. I'm going to let you answer this question.
Yeah, so it depends on the major. again, one of my roommates, he's in electrical engineering and it's a smaller department. So for him, his class sizes are, no more than, I think, 30 students. So it's, it's on par with what it's like at Holy Cross. But for computer science majors, for example, classes can get up to 350 students. And it really ranges from department to department. So CS classes, at least in my experience, have had larger classes.
Brett, can you tell us what was the biggest class you've had at Holy Cross so far?
So the biggest classes at Holy Cross are definitely like the intro classes at first. And even then I think the maximum is about 28 students. And definitely as we got more and more into the major and with more of the higher level courses, some of my classes, we had like 10 students. So it was really nice to be able to work closely with the professor and your peers at that point.
Awesome. Another kind of logistical question that I think for Professor Morita will be the easiest for you to answer. Between the math major, the physics major, and the computer science major, which one overlaps the most with the Columbia University requirements?
That's a tricky one. So for example, a mechanical engineering major at Columbia overlaps very nicely with the physics program. Let's see. Math major, probably applied mathematics overlaps nicely. Electrical engineering overlaps nicely with physics. Computer science is a little bit trickier because computer science majors don't typically have to take physics or 3 semesters of calculus like physics and math students have to do. So I'm guessing computer science majors probably have the least overlap, and physics and math have the most overlap, but in particular areas especially.
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on what major you want to do at Columbia. Because, you could do computer science and then do computer engineering if you want to do computer engineering, right? But if, for example, you're going to do computer science at Holy Cross and then try to do electrical engineering later, that might be a little hard.
Awesome. That's really good to know. Another kind of logistical question for both Emmanuel and for Patricia this year. What was your experience at Columbia in the pandemic? Were students who were at Columbia at home or on campus? Were you virtual, hybrid, in person, and what did that look like for you?
Yeah, so the first semester in the fall, at least, it was virtual for most people. And then for a lot of students that needed, for example, a better space or needed to be on a campus where they weren't able to do a lot of work at their own homes, they were allowed housing. This past semester in the spring, they changed it a little bit and all 4th year students are here, along with, again, the students that were here in the fall as well. So, there's about like a fourth, about 25, a little bit more than 25% of the undergraduate student body is here right now.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Okay, another question that we have that I'm really going to throw out to anyone who may have an answer. Do you know of anyone who has done the 3-2 program at Holy Cross while also doing ROTC at Holy Cross or at Columbia during that time? And I don't know if any of you will know anyone, but I thought I'd throw it out there.
Well, I've had several inquiries from someone who's on ROTC scholarship wanting to do the 3-2. Unfortunately, no one has ever been able to complete it. And I don't really understand all the details because that was something that they had to negotiate with ROTC. But my understanding was that there were a couple of issues. One was the scholarship transferring from Holy Cross to Columbia. Another one was that requiring 5 years to complete your undergraduate degree instead of 4 years, which I think is might be an ROTC requirement. And so for several reasons, which I'm like I said, I'm not completely clear on, but I can tell you 100% that no ROTC students have done the 3-2 program. Now I can let you know we have a lot of ROTC students in our department who go through and a lot of them do go into engineering. through the military afterwards. And so, like I said, engineering is an option that a lot of our students take, and many, many different ways to get there.
Awesome. And then the last question that I have from a student is very specific about the civil engineering program that Columbia offers and what kinds of specializations are offered within civil engineering. So I don't know if any of you have a particular familiarity with that in terms of, structural civil engineering, bridges, buildings, architecture, kind of what that might look like through the Columbia program. Any thoughts?
I actually saw this question a little earlier. I have a link right now to the directory of courses at Columbia. I could respond to that question and just send a link. You can take a look at the classes that they have under the civil engineering department. Although I do know that I think the civil engineering department also has overlap with the mechanical engineering department as well. So once you're on the website, you could take a look at some of the classes that Columbia offers for their civil engineering classes.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that our students would appreciate getting that link if you want to throw it in the answer there. And then another new question we just got, is it possible to major in physics as well as minor in business at Holy Cross and then go into electrical engineering at Columbia? So another very specific question. Any thoughts from Professor Narita or from any of the students?
Well, why don't I leave this to one of the students, because all three students are physics majors. Can you imagine putting a minor on top of your major and fulfilling the 3-2 requirements?
So I would say it would definitely be challenging. I think since electrical engineering will require a lot of physics courses that you're going to be taking, it might be possible, but I wouldn't say for sure. I know that there's one requirement, which is the principles of economics that you have to take regardless. So that would leave you with 5 more classes on top of what you have to do for Columbia's requirements, which seems like it is possible, but it's definitely challenging. I know that there's also an option if somebody out there is interested in more of kind of like a financial side, like financial engineering and econ. I know that there is an option to do economics at Holy Cross and then pursue financial engineering. I don't think that after doing econ, you could do any of the electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, or any that type of thing, that type of major at Columbia. But yeah, it's going to definitely add a decent amount to your schedule. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it's definitely challenging.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if the question was posed for a minor at Columbia or a minor at Holy Cross, but I think it might actually have been asking about Holy Cross, a minor in business. And I think that on top of the Holy Cross degree, I would have to take a look at, I think it would be a good idea to take a look at the classes and see if there's overlap, maybe with Professor Narita when you come in, have those advising meetings with him if you decide to do 3-2. I think that if there is a good amount of overlap, you would definitely be able to do it. But like Patty said, even at Columbia or at Holy Cross, it can be the physics major and the Columbia requirements by themselves can be pretty challenging by themselves as well. But if you're driven and you really like business, maybe you'd probably be able to find a way if you really wanted to, I think.
Yeah, I also want to just, like I said earlier, that every student is a little bit different. Depends on how many AP classes you've taken. Some people have taken 8, 9 AP classes while in high school. And so if you have taken lots of calculus, maybe both micro and macroeconomics, we have to really have to study your transcript and make a decision on that. But one thing I do not want to do is to push students to overload themselves, because I think just overloading yourself just causes bigger problems down the line.
I think too, it's important if you have taken a lot of AP classes in high school is to send your scores over to Holy Cross once we'll start with the enrollment process, just so that you can start talking with Professor Narita about which courses, which AP classes count as credits towards the program.
Awesome. I want to close out here really quick with one more question, just from me to the three of our students that we have here today. Can you just talk very briefly about why you chose Holy Cross, or why you chose the 3-2 program rather than trying to go to an engineering bachelor's degree program right from the start? What was the motivation for each of you? And I know for Brett, you kind of fell into the engineering program, but you can maybe talk about why you chose Holy Cross, or why that was something you're interested in. I'd love for each of the three of you to kind of give your piece there to wrap us up.
I definitely think that going to a liberal arts institution, it makes you a more like well-rounded person, because, you know, Holy Cross will require for you to take other courses outside of your major. And there's history course that you have to take. There's a philosophy requirement. There's two natural sciences, right? So outside of your major, you have to complete a wide range of courses that kind of make you more open-minded, and I think are really interesting and are kind of something different than what you mostly do at Holy Cross. So it's really nice to have, you know, those kind of sciencey classes, but also have that one class that is something different. So I think the reason why I chose Holy Cross was because you do have a combination of, you know, liberal arts education, you know, you can polish your communication skills, writing skills, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then you can go strictly to engineering. Whereas if you go right away from high school to engineering, you don't get that experience. And I think we were stressing that a lot over the meeting, but I do think that Holy Cross did prepare us really well to be at Columbia. So I just think it was kind of like a perfect thing from, you know, coming from high school to Holy Cross, you know, and then going to the engineering school. I think it was just like the perfect combination.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the main reasons was I really wanted to do something in science. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and I remember, excuse me, that I was also very interested in physics. So when I saw the 3-2 program, I thought it was a great opportunity not only to, you know, pursue physics, which is I actually wanted to do physics more than I wanted to do the 3-2 program when I first came to Holy Cross. So it was a great opportunity to do and study physics while also going and doing some engineering if I wanted to go down and pursue engineering down the line. But I think I was also really interested in a lot of classes like philosophy, you know, a lot of history and everything like that. And I think Holy Cross really gave me the opportunity to be able to not only pursue physics and pursue engineering later on through the 3-2 program, but I was also able to, you know, take some time and actually spend time on thinking about, you know, philosophy and other topics that I thought were really interesting on top of just my physics degree.
For me, it was really the classes I took and just the overall environment of Holy Cross kind of guided me on what I found was interesting and what I wanted to do with my my classes and my time here. Because I originally had thought I wanted to do major in biology and maybe 3-2 pair that up with biomedical engineering in 3-2. But after taking my intro physics classes and getting to learn from the professors and getting to know them, I really started liking physics a lot more. And ultimately, I made the decision to switch to physics and electrical engineering. And I've been really happy with that. And I think because Holy Cross has that as a smaller school environment, you get that more close interaction with your peers and with your professors.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for joining us for the webinar. It's been wonderful to have so many different student voices and a professor voice to kind of talk about this program. And thank you all so much to the students and families that have joined us as well. It's wonderful to have you all on here and to be engaged, asking your questions. So we really appreciate you being here. Hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. And thank you so much for signing on. Take care.